Hello, good morning, good afternoon, or good evening, wherever you are based in the world. It is a pleasure to have you here, and it is a pleasure to have here also Aboodi. Hi, Aboodi. Nice to have you here with
Hi,
us.
Gabriel. Thank you for having me. Hi.
Hello, nice, nice. And I've seen people that started already chatting and messaging. There are a lot of people that are excited to know about your professional journey and some of the projects you work on. So that was great. It was a great response this time from a lot of the
Exciting.
folks. Very nice. And one thing that I want to do is first, let me just say one thing. Okay. Um, if you see here these great scars, and I might repeat it during if people get scared, well, didn't got into a fight. Aboodi said it was due to the World Cup. No, Italy went out a long time ago, so there was no reason to fight about that. I just got an accident during a squash match. I got a racket straight onto my face. So this is the results after Monday. So anybody joining, if you want to ask, please ask. But that's basically my story. But today it's not about me; it's about indeed Aboodi and his professional journey. So maybe while we get the time for people to jump in, I see that there are already someone listening to us. So where are you guys based? I'm based in the Netherlands. Aboodi, where do you actually connect from?
I am calling from Edinburgh, Scotland, UK.
Okay, next. So we picked an evening time for both of us again to please the US folks, right? Isn't it a bit unfair? But it's good. So we got, for example, also Sam Shannon from Cyprus. Ooh, that sounds like a nice place to be.
Yeah.
Liquid Like Project is from LA. We have Lucas Marinho, I think from Brazil. We have some people from Spain. Hi, Ivan. It's a pleasure. We have also people from Portugal. Alexander, I
All the
believe.
great weather, all the
Yeah,
nice warm
yeah.
weather.
I mean, how was it your place? I mean, here
It
today
snowed
it was.
today. This morning
Oh,
it snowed.
at
It's,
least
yeah.
that's nice. That's nice. And I think talking about snow, maybe Bisha could tell us a little bit from Canada. I think that might might have seen some snow already. We have got Francesco, ciao Francesco da Milano, upstate New York, Iceland. That's also, I think, there must have snowed there. We got people from UK, indeed, Toronto, and again, more from Turkey, Canada, Ghana. Derek, it's a pleasure to have you here as well. So we got pretty good folk between actually YouTube and LinkedIn. That is great. Thank you very much, everybody that is joining so far. And I think it's going to be a great session. Why it's going to be a great session? Because my questions don't matter. What matters are your questions. So I'm gonna start asking something to get the ball rolling. But anything that you guys would like to ask, please go ahead, drop them in the chat. I'm gonna pop them up for us, and then we can tackle them one by one. So just because we got more people from Tunisia. Sorry, I just want to acknowledge because there are really a lot of people from India, Oman, Saudi Arabia, also from India. So yeah, basic confirmed in Canada is minus 22.
Wow.
Uh,
Okay. Okay.
so thank you very much, everybody. And again, please go ahead and ask question if you want. But let's kickstart this. Aboodi, why don't you introduce a little bit about yourself?
Okay. Hi, everyone. My name is Aboodi Taha. I am from Egypt. I'm currently based in the UK. I have a background in architecture, filmmaking, and now game development. My journey to XR wasn't straightforward. I think that can be said for most people in the XR industry. At first, I wanted to be an architect. I studied architectural engineering, and I actually got a job offer to work in Qatar. But at the time, I wanted to pursue different career paths, and I became a documentary filmmaker for 3 years. And then eventually I hit a wall. I didn't know how all my skills, their accumulation fit together. I mean, I was good at spatial design, spatial thinking, and I was also good at storytelling and animation. And, hearing about the XR industry, it all made perfect sense. So that's how I'm here today. All my skills were transferable to where I'm at right now.
Nice. And so how did that evolve? So from the moment that you became an architect, what happened afterward? Or let's say you were formed, like your education was in architecture. How did that evolve? Did you start pursuing? Did you do some course, or and how? What was your first encounter with XR in a sense?
So with with architecture, that was university
Right.
and a couple internships. I was working on skyscrapers. That was fun. With XR, there were transferable skills, but I had to learn coding from scratch. It was all self-learning. I didn't even know what coding was. That started in like late 2019, 2020.
Uh huh.
A friend of mine showed me how to play Beat Saber, and I was like, "Oh wow, I'm impressed. I need to be
Hooked.
like,
That's it.
I'm sold. I need to be part of this." So yeah, 2020, I started learning all about coding and following YouTube tutorials and that sort of thing. And bit by bit, like learn how to 3D model, rigs, animations, all those pieces were put together. So that's how it started.
Right, right. So, and I mean, there is a lot in those, let's say, 3D skills that then ports into the XR world, let's say, right? So all the 3D modeling and so on, and it does contribute, and also especially mentioning about the storytelling, that is also another important part that is, let's say, much more prevalent in a say than 2D apps, right? That is, I think, it's a very good component. And so now you mentioned we hear about usually. So the first thing that we hear when we think about XR, we think about developers, right? Because that's at least right now what a lot of they do the heavy lifting, right? It's like putting this thing, and you see many companies that basically rely on developers fully. Then usually there is these there are always designers, so people that create the experience, they think about that, and then there is in between, or that's how I see it, right? And correct me if I'm wrong. There are prototyper, but maybe what are the differences? So based on your journey so far, what was your understanding between what does designer do, when does his competences end, what is the prototyper do, when does he start to be a developer? I mean, how can you tell us a little bit about that?
Yeah. So you were right about, designers doing the wireframe and interaction flow and developers doing the heavy lifting. Um, but these are, I feel like, rigid roles. If the smaller
Right,
the team, the more hats you have to wear. So sometimes
right,
I personally feel like I'm wearing both hats, designer and developer.
right.
And to me, an XR prototyper is someone who builds quick, is not afraid to fail fast and learn faster,
Mhm.
willing to try new things, new SDKs, new tools, new design methods, because the industry is always evolving, and there's always new SDKs coming out. You have to stay on top of emerging technology, new headset, new SDK came out, that sort of thing. Um, so yeah, so an XR prototyper would like a typical week, for example.
Yeah, go ahead.
So a typical week for XR prototyper would be you put on your designer hat. So you do a bit of sketching, wireframing, interaction flow. You ask questions like perspective, space, the UI in VR. Obviously, it's not the same on screen. Is it too close, too far, the right size? And then you put on the developer hat and you have to realize that vision to bring it to life
Mhm.
and incorporate user feedback into development process. Um, yeah, and it's very agile. It's very fast. Yeah, that's what X.
Right, right. And by the way, sorry, I do have follow-up questions, but there was a question from Finance. What is an SDK? Sorry, no need to apologize, actually. Go ahead and ask questions. That's the whole purpose of this. We are all learning here.
So
Aboodi.
SDK stands for Software Developer Kit,
Mhm.
and it facilitates design, so you don't have to keep reinventing it. Sorry, it facilitates development, so you don't have to keep reinventing the wheel. Um, so Oculus Meta provide their own SDK. Unity, the game engine, which I've used to build Meta-Ankh, also provide their own VR SDK, and that helps developers to like, right, let's fast track and build things quickly instead of reinventing every single component.
Right. Right. So it's like building blocks that you can use and then are customizable in order to build the final experience, let's say.
Yes. Customizing is very tricky. But
Right,
yeah,
indeed,
that's
because
part of the developer job. Yeah.
exactly. So, and that is maybe one question as a follow up, since this is very relevant. It says, so what do you see as so? I'm going maybe into the details, but I think it might be interesting for people that are joining the call. And again, if you have questions, again, please. But is what are the SDKs that you think or you find yourself using more often?
I use the Unity's XR interaction toolkit just because I use Unity, the game engine. It's more sort of straightforward, Unity XR interaction toolkit, but also Oculus integration. Sometimes when I want to use their cool features like meta avatars or pass through, yeah, you'd have to use Oculus integration SDK to get to use those cool features in the headset.
Right. So, I mean, really, just to make it actionable for people, what are the top three that you would say people should look into? One you mentioned is the Oculus SDK, correct?
The top one would be Unity XR interaction toolkit. That's definitely easy,
Okay.
learner friendly.
Right.
Oculus integration is a bit difficult to use at the start, but eventually you get to, get grips with it. It's more advanced.
Okay. Okay. I hope that's gonna be useful, Flanan, so you start knowing which direction you should go by. So I have a question from Matt. Hi, Aboodi. Do you have any background in UX UI design? Do you feel these skills are necessary to excel at your work? Thanks, Matt. It's a great question.
Hello, Matt. Thank you for the question. I do not have a background in UX UI. I have friends who have background in that. Ask them all sorts of questions. I do think my architecture background gives me a bit of UX background without me very unintentional, because I'm always thinking about how is the user going to navigate the space? How are they going to do this? So that is UX in itself, thinking about what the user is going to do. But I don't have UI UX experience. These skills are definitely 100% transferable and essential to success in this industry. Yeah, like definitely 100%.
Absolutely. And look, I usually don't do it because, maybe also a couple of words. So you would be surprised by actually, I think everybody here, by the number of architects that we stumble upon that are actually XR designers. And that I found great. Like, I mean, there is a significant number. I would say that there are like a good maybe 20-30% of people I talk to that they have some kind of like architect, interior design, or in general they have that spatial background, and that I think gives a lot on the value of that, because and indeed, right? I mean, you end up with UX UI designers that are gonna try to figure out space, and you're gonna have space designer, like architects that are gonna try to figure out UI. And I think it's good. And I think both should learn in some way, and everybody to building this. So absolutely, that is something great. And by the way, maybe for anybody. I haven't introduced myself, and maybe I should just say two words very quickly, because so I'm Gabriele, I'm head of business and for ShapesXR, that is design and prototyping tool that Aboodi is gonna build. That he used to build his prototype, so it was a pleasure to actually invite him here and have a chat to showcase some of his work and in general share his experience with you guys. So we have a lot of questions. So we have a question from Sam. Can you start at zero with Unity and hop into XR prototyping? I've got UX and design experience, but no coding.
I would recommend learning coding just by itself. Like I learned C# on its own. I didn't even learn Unity. And then I went to Unity and did like PC apps just to get grips with the actual engine. Then jump into XR. Because yeah, it's kind of a leap to go from nothing to XR. You need to like know some of the basics first.
Right.
So, yeah.
And maybe like a follow up, how did you learn coding yourself? Did you follow some, I mean, video on YouTube? You made a course? How does that work?
I invested in a Code Academy subscription, which they
Mm.
gave it to me for free because of the pandemic at the time. They were giving subscriptions away. Code Academy was really good to learn C Sharp. It's a good platform to learn.
Very nice, very nice. So something to look at if anybody wants to start learning coding, and I think C Sharp sounds like the way to go at that point. Uh, so. Uh, so, and by the way, people are excited to start their coding life in January. Excited, nice, congratulations, Andrew. Nice to, and tell us how it goes. Tell us how it goes. Show us next webinar when it's like January, February. Oh, it's going amazing. We want to hear from you back when it's January on the next webinar. So, what is an essential skill for a prototyper? XR and in general. So maybe let's rephrase it. What is the essential thing that a prototyper would need in terms of skill?
Agility, being quick to fail and like not get quick to fail, quick to learn, and just quick on your feet. I don't know, like, because I probably didn't mention this just until now, but like XR, I'm part of the XR boot camp,
Right.
and we have to be like quick every week. We have to produce something. So yeah, being resistant and like determined, that's like a good quality for a prototyper. Yeah, and creativity. Like try not to be samey, like copy what you see. Try and like have some of your own thoughts because it is a growing industry and everything's new. So just don't be afraid to like try new things. Like why not?
Right. Yeah, and I think it's a very fair question. Matt is asking, what is XR Bootcamp?
What is XR Bootcamp? So XR Bootcamp is it's a 4 months bootcamp that is hosted online. So part of my cohort is all around the world. They help you become an XR prototyper within 4 months, 4 to 5 months. And yeah, it's a great academy, online academy, I would call. Yeah, it's been a pleasure to be part of them. I joined in August. I'll go into that a bit after the questions.
Nice. I'm just here because there are a lot of questions. So we have Chinedo, who had a bit of a hard time finding the chat button, but here you are. Nice, Chinedo, to have you here. So why don't we maybe move a little bit forward with the conversation? So what is so we got in contact because you build your own prototype, you build your own project. Maybe you can tell us a little bit about that. What was your flow, and how does building a prototype actually look like for an XR experience?
Oh, do I share my slideshow?
Yeah, I mean, you said you have something to share. I think it could help us.
Yes, I do. Let me present, share screen.
By the way, we have a question that is asking about the difference between AR and pass-through function on a headset. I think something we can let's. Aboodi, do you want to answer quickly?
Yeah.
Go ahead.
So AR, augmented reality, you can do, well, we all do AR with our phones, Instagram filters and Snapchat, but you can also do it with Magic Leap or HoloLens glasses. So you can see the physical world, but it's augmented with digital objects. Pass-through is you're in VR, and the VR headset has cameras which look out into the world. So you can see the outside world while wearing the headset. And there are VR experiences that incorporate seeing the real world with VR elements. So that's the difference.
Right. And I think it's sometimes hard to understand without really seeing it, right?
Yeah.
So maybe at some point later we could try to kind of like maybe show something. Maybe we could try something out later. So this guy, stay with us. We are probably maybe gonna show some little experiment around that. But meanwhile, we've got the deck here, and I think if you make it full screen, yeah, that's great.
Cool. So the journey to becoming an XR prototyper, my links, you don't have to follow me, but that'll be fun.
But do. I mean,
Do follow
why?
me.
Like just follow him. I mean, like you don't need to. It's not a favor. You're doing a favor to the people that are following you, like innovators. So go ahead, Aboodi.
Cool. So the app is called Meta-Ankh. It's based in these three lovely spaces. It was a level design exercise that was made easier by using ShapesXR. This is me and all my digital selves. The character on the far right, we're gonna see that character again. His name is At as well. There's a pun there, AT. A snapshot of my timeline. So my journey, where it started, studying in Dubai, and then moving to Edinburgh to study architecture, film, and where I'm at right now. So I did my master's in the University of Edinburgh. All my projects were about VR, obviously. And in late 2020, I got a scholarship to join XR Bootcamp. The XR Bootcamp, it was a scholarship actually from XR Safety Initiative, XR Collation, and Meta, who sponsored it. So thank you. Yeah, I've been part of them for like a couple months now, 4 months. So it's been going great. Meta-Ankh was created during my time at the University of Edinburgh in 2020. So started with, I started with a sketch and like sketch and sketch and sketch and brainstorming ideas. And what I really wanted to create was a space that had deformed architecture and writings on the walls. And I was like, great, let's create it based in ancient Egypt. So the context was based in ancient Egypt. And I add a little bit of element of retrofuturism and an alternate utopian reality. I've combined all these thoughts together, and I came up with this concept that combines the cyber world with the physical world. It's kind of hard to comprehend, but picture like data becoming materialized.
Okay.
So my thought process, I used a user story. And the way it works is that you have horizontally have the order of occurrence, so what the user sees, and vertically you have how important is this to you. So as a prototyper, you have to sometimes cut some things out of your design just to get the product, the proof of work. What do you need to show? So anything that's grayed out that actually never made it to my prototype, it's only the essential things that were developed just to
So
show
wait,
that.
wait a second. So explain me us. So how did you prioritize this? Can you give us a better understanding of what we are actually seeing, so that we understand what also your thinking
Yeah,
process?
let me get my pointer. Okay, so the first row is the most important.
Uh-huh.
And here I'm talking about like the three spaces, the quest, how the user is going to be jumping around between spaces and engaging with the narrative. That was meant to be the ending, which never happened. The
Right.
second row are elements that add features. So a city, characters that talk to you and engage with you, an inventory system so you can collect items. And these are more aesthetics, but plants growing around you and stuff. I think we've seen that in the promo videos with the palm trees growing. The last row, I think I was just very ambitious, and I was like, right, I'm short on time. I had to cut all the stuff, so like
Right.
adaptive music and driving a spaceship. But yeah, those were the most important bits.
Right. Right. So basically, you kind of like laid out all the ideas, and then try to filter importance. One was also the order of occurrence, so that you could just sketch out the whole experience, not really in a progressive way, but more in terms of content and building blocks that would make it special, let's say.
Yeah, and it's really good to yeah, it's really good for yourself when you want to do like what's the most important task, what am I working on, and check things off.
Right. And you mentioned that also connects very closely to the fact that by being fast, you need to cut what's superfluous, right? And that is why it's a very good exercise. Okay.
Yeah, it's like what are your needs and what are your wants. I just made the
Right.
needs. Yeah. So the three spaces, triangle, pyramid, and dome, based in Egypt. So all I had was three pyramids in the background. I didn't have like a whole environment. I filled them with characters, and I made a non-linear quest, which we'll get into when we're in shapes. But I just made the user feel like they have the option to choose how they want to start the quest and progress. And then these gray connectors are conditions that have you finished all these quests? If yes, you can progress. And eventually you end up here. Yeah, and yeah, okay. Uh, Inventory system. Here's a bit of design stuff. So I'm really like into furniture and inspiration from architecture. So the pit table plays a role that you throw objects into it. That's the mechanic that I've built. To use the objects, you throw it into the table. And that was inspired by this table from the 70s. A little reference to retro technology. We're going to see it in the final video I think we're showing. Yeah. So I had like retro windows inspired by Microsoft 1995. I had computers inspired by IBM. And this is a play on word. Computers are frozen. So you know how your computer is frozen? I played on that word and literally had frozen computers.
Right.
So that's ice around them. Just trying to make it more playful.
Right.
And this is just a progression about like how the space evolved. I spent some time doing the hieroglyphs, and those are all actually made in ShapesXR using the brush tool. I created 81 hieroglyphs, and I'm not, by the way, they all make sense. It's not gibberish. I went to the library and spent 2 weeks reading about how to write hieroglyphs, and I made like sentences that are like code to how to solve the puzzle.
And Matt is saying nice. I think that it's more than a nice. Please, like, everybody that is listening, let's give a round of applause, because that is dedication. That is really dedication.
Yeah, I want it to be authentic. Like, I don't like it when I play video games and, you know, like the text is not as authentic to the language. And I want it to be like pay tribute. So yeah. Pyramid space, I really like the lattice structure at the back. So that's inspired by the Goldstein residence. You probably seen it in music videos or something. And the exterior is inspired by the salon in New York. The dome space has liquid architecture. And initially it was very rigid arches, but I went back into shapes and I drew the curves by hand and put them back into Maya, and then I made the curves. So that's how it evolved. So that's how I went back and forth between shapes.
Oh, that's interesting. So you were basically creating in you had these standard shapes, then you went in shapes, you were more like a natural movement using the brush tool, and then you exported that. Okay, very interesting.
Yeah, so it was back and forth, and that's how I ended up with that.
Yeah, indeed, because maybe for people that don't know, so there are several ways in which you can actually get stuff in or out of shapes. You can, for example, import 3D model as OBJ format, but you can also export as GLTF or as, for example, as a Unity file. So there are different ways in which you can get stuff out of in and out of shapes.
Yeah. Yeah, and that's I forgot one more thing. So when we're in shapes, and I mentioned shadoof, that word, so that's an irrigation tool used to take water from the river to a higher land.
Right.
And I incorporated that into the game by making it sci-fi. I don't know, like space age. And this is actually a screenshot from Unity, and I did all the rigs and mechanics, so you can pull. You can pull the rope and you can get water out of, you know, the water space down here, and you can get water. So
right.
So that's what I mean when I say shadoof. Remember that, everyone.
Right, that is the thing. It's basically a version of a windmill, just different, right?
Yes, yes. Windmill for water. You just take the water out and into the river. Yeah, pretty much.
Awesome.
And yeah, I think that's my slide deck so far.
Yeah, and I mean, we so there are a couple of questions before we can go in shapes to see some of these things that you have built. Emilio is saying, amazing, your process and research is key. Absolutely, right? And I encourage everybody that is actually like working on this project. There is a lot of work, and something that I always say: do not just show the final work, because you do a misservice to yourself and to the people that are there to learn, right? So always share. So great work here, Aboodi. Very well done.
Thank you very much.
And we have a very good question. What is the meaning of Meta-Ankh?
Oh,
Is that the word means something?
yes. So Ankh is, oh, I should share my screen again. Ankh is that symbol, the key, the Egyptian key.
Right.
And Meta is metaverse.
So it's the meta and the key symbol. Okay.
Like ancient meets data, and it combines. Yeah, Meta-Ankh. It's a made-up word.
Yeah. So let's do one thing. I have a question from how important is the fact that it is a game to the experience or these experiences in general? How important is the fact that it is a game to the experience or this experience? So let's do this. Can you explain better this question, or have you got what he means, Aboodi?
I think.
Let's do this. If you clarify that question, we're gonna ask it once we are back, right? Because we miss it. Sorry, Descartes. So let's do one thing. Why don't we go in shapes? So that actually there was Matt who was asking, hey, can I view your project somewhere? So one thing we're going to do is that we are going in the project right now. And then later, I invite everybody to download actually ShapesXR, because the space from Aboodi is actually going to be probably one of the ones that is going to be featured on our billboard. So let's see, right? It needs a bit of cleaning, as I understood, because these projects are very crafty, right, and creative. Sometimes they're really like a bit messy, and that's how creativity is, right? So once that's a bit ordered up, I'm pretty sure that everybody would love to check it out. Wait a second, there is someone here that needs attention. Okay. Yes. So why don't we go in? Matteo. Okay, yes, let's go. Let me also enter in the space. Right. So give me a second that I enter the right row. That was here, and then I'm gonna share my screen. Right. So I think this is. I'm gonna cast the computer, and I'm gonna share the screen so that people can. Maybe we have people. Hello, good day, everyone. Hi, Chansey. Nice to have you here with us. Let me just go and make sure that we are streaming. We are now streaming, and let me get here. And wait a second. Share screen. It's coming. Don't fear. Here we are. Aboodi, hi.
This is so cool.
Nice to see you. So maybe let me give me 1 second so that I can show people what's happening in here. So this is actually ShapesXR, and you see me using a Quest Pro, but indeed Aboodi is using a Quest 2. It could be even a Quest 1. And this is the app. This is the main lobby. So in here, I invite everybody that is now maybe checking out this as soon as you start launch ShapesXR, I really encourage you to follow the tutorial series that is here on the top right with our instructor. And then like explore the tool. We have samples that you can use and templates as like a canvas to create your own experiences and so on. So I mean, we are not here to demo the app in any possible way. We are here to talk about and see Aboodi's project. So I'm just going to get back, but that you understand what this is about. And now we have Avatar. And you see, with the Quest Pro, we even got face tracking and so on. But it doesn't matter now. Here I am back. Hi, Aboodi. Nice to see you.
Hello. Hi, Gabriel.
So why don't you get us through? This is basically one of the spaces, right? So this was the cube, looks like.
Yes, this was the cube. The key point about the first three spaces, so 1, 2, and 3.
Uh-huh. 1, 2.
Is
Oh,
that-
right.
so
2
1,
and 3.
2, and 3. So this was like a clean, empty canvas. No
Right.
characters, no furniture.
Right.
And you have the pyramid, the Giza pyramids and the dome over there.
Right.
Oops. So it's important to know where each space is relative to the other one, so that the user can see themselves, can see where they are.
Right. And for everybody, I want to show you something. So 1, 2, and 3, what you see here in my screen is basically the stages or layers, however you want to call them. And this allows basically to create different creation, or maybe also later, as we have seen, simulate some interaction, user stories, and so on. But it's technically like a series of frames that you can use in many creative ways for your own design. So yeah, please go ahead.
So if we go to frame 4,
Yep.
I can start walking us through what I didn't make, but I wish I did.
Oh, right. That's also good to hear for something that didn't make
The
it, of course.
tutorial part.
Right.
So in the tutorial, you know how every game has a tutorial just to get the player warmed up and understand the basic mechanics.
Of course.
So you have a character there talking to you,
Right.
and they are telling you to pick a material. So you pick either concrete or marble.
Right.
And then stage 5, you pick up the concrete and you throw it into the pit.
Right.
Stage 6, the same character tells you, okay, now that you've picked the material, the space around you, instead of being all white, now you can see the material. You picked concrete, so you have concrete. You pick a shape, so it's either the cube steps or the circular steps. You pick whichever you want, and then stage 8, the steps are now around you.
Yes.
So your choices, what you throw into the table, affects what happens around you. And so the next mechanic is pulling the rope.
Yeah, and maybe just one thing, because we are going very fast, but I think I'm not sure people are grasping what is happening. Because for us it makes all sense, but I'm not sure that for other people do. This is like really amazing work, and I want to show maybe like, so everything that you see here, and correct me if I'm wrong, Aboodi. So this was all created in Shape. For example, this one here that you call character, right? So these were technically drawn, right, with the draw tool here. And then let's say I'm making an uglier version of yours. But this is basically like how things were created, and either, for example, with brush tools, or maybe using shapes that you could use to assemble steps that were in a certain position in space. Am I correct?
Yes, that's absolutely correct.
Okay. Great. So people pick first a material, then they pick a shape, and then now there is another customization option, so to say. Correct?
Yes. So you have this rope appearing in front of you, which I've drawn just like that.
Yeah.
Let me get rid of it. So yeah, the character is now telling you to pull on the rope. It's like saying, I wonder what would happen if you pull the rope. And if the player, stage 9, the player reaches out and pulls on the rope, and the ceiling suddenly goes higher.
All right. Yes. And by the way, there is an important thing that we should never forget in VR, and that is scale. So I mean, here it looks all easy because now, of course, you did a great job, and the rope shows at the right height where it should be. It should be within the field of view, closer to the character that is in front of me. But these are not things that are, let's say, trivial for a spatial design, right? I need to be able to, while I'm here, for example, standing, I need to be able to make sure that the user can easily grab this handle here, and they can pull it down, right? So that is a very important decision of how things are done. I just wanted to emphasize, because that's what really also a lot of spatial design is, right?
Yes, absolutely. Like the scale factor was so important because I wanted the space to not feel too big, but also not too small. So there was a lot of going back and forth and readjusting the size.
Right. And by the way, I like how now the character kind of like looks up and is somehow surprised.
Yeah, I'm trying to symbolize that. It's like, oh,
No,
it's
but
looking up.
absolutely. This is nice because if you think about it, you might not even notice, but instead, if you have a character that kind of like moves and looks up now, then it kind of like drive the user attention, right, to something that happened in the scene.
Yes, it draws you to what's happening.
Right. Yeah. And then you look up. Makes sense.
And then stage 10.
Right.
This is where I've started with animation. So, well, we've already started animation before, but like I've drawn out how I want the character to move around. So, number 1, the character is here, and they go all the way up, and they're like, oh wow, there's a whole ceiling up here.
Right.
So I'm using the lines to show, right, the characters are going up that way, and the numbers to indicate first step, second step.
Right. And maybe what's fun also, I like always like to kind of like move stuff around, right?
Yeah.
I mean, now we are having this little object, and it's not something that is static here. I mean, we could technically create the trajectory and say, so it does like this, for example.
Yes.
Right. It is kind of like a flow because it could do in different ways. While instead it says, hey, and maybe you could be there and you could say, hey, but what do you think? If I move this thing like this, do you like it? Or would you like it instead if I goes like maybe a bit of a smaller, higher movement the other way? I touch my microphone, doesn't matter. But yeah.
I've done that before.
Nice. Okay.
So stage 11. This is when we start creating openings in the space. So now we're locked in this room. So if we throw this shape in, the columns, if we throw in stage 12, they open up and we can see the world outside.
Right.
And if we throw the circle, we get a skylight.
All right.
Stage 13. The skylight would be hard to notice. So that's why I had the character move again to draw the player's attention to the ceiling.
Right. It would be interesting, for example, though, if maybe there was some light.
Yes.
Because that is maybe something that we could do very quickly now. Let me just experiment. And then you feel free to take out this stupid idea here. But then there is like, here we go.
Oh, wow.
What about something like this?
That makes perfect sense.
You like it?
Yeah, absolutely. Light coming through.
This could be a good idea, but I'm not gonna mess up your space. Don't worry, I throw it away.
Great. And then what next do we have? Stage 14.
Right.
Stage 14. Our character was up here, and now they're going back down slowly. And then coming forward, so the player feels like, there's depth. And then they come close to the player and they start, chatting to them. Welcome to Memphis. My name is At. And I've actually used the exact same script that I've made in Shapes in the final.
Right.
Game. Yeah. So it was really nice to like write the script and animate and do the space at the same time.
Yeah. Because I think when you are immersed, you kind of like also think differently, right? I mean, you're not here just to, in a way, you're here to tell a story. And when you are in a place, okay, wow, I'm here. What is this character gonna tell me now, right? I mean, that is also part of the part of the whole design and ideation.
Yes, absolutely. Then we have stage 15. Is
Yeah.
your good.
Yeah. No, sorry. I was just checking because to not leave. I'm seeing some questions. That's why I was absent for 1 second. But go ahead. Yes.
So stage 15.
Yeah.
Actually, I want to talk about the table for a moment.
Uh-huh.
So that's a miniature map. There
Right.
should have been a cube here somewhere, but it just shows you like the dome is to our right on the east. Yeah, thank you.
Uh-huh.
So we are here,
Right.
and the dome space is to our right, and
Uh-huh.
the pyramid is to our left.
Okay. Okay.
Um, so this is like a miniature map, a physical one.
Uh-huh.
Instead of having like a 2D map, a UI menu,
Right.
this is more physical one that you can just touch and you can teleport. So that's just
Right.
the table. We can come to our character here, the hashtag. And that's what I meant earlier about the spread of misinformation, the windows, the red
Uh-huh.
windows, and that's like the enemy, right? So you have these windows flying about, and this is like your first conflict in the narrative, where
Uh-huh.
you have to make a stop to all these like red windows spreading. That gives you a
Okay.
motive to do something about it. And that's why it's a hashtag, because Twitter.
Oh. Well. Okay, that's a fair point. Fair point.
So yeah. And then we have another character there. It's called, well, it's a divide shape. Actually, I need to go down a bit. So it's a divide symbol. And
Uh-huh.
what it does is divide rocks. It breaks
Right.
rocks.
Yeah.
And that plays into the narrative because we're going to need seeds. And those rocks, they have seeds inside them. So you bring it to this character and they break up the rocks for you.
Right. Okay. Okay. So then there were different characters. They all serve a different purpose,
Yeah.
and they are like here. There is a percentage, but it's like a divide, and then it falls a
Yeah.
divide. The enemy instead is the hashtag that spams you with stuff in a
Yes.
way. Okay. Okay.
The player gets to know who these characters are, what they do, and how, like, the player is meant to learn, right? This character does that, so I need to go to them if I need to do so and so.
Right.
So then we can go to stage 16. Back to the table. So the player has a ray cast, so they can click on the dome space,
Right.
and that they want to teleport.
Mm-hmm.
And then you have a menu option saying, "Are you sure you want to teleport?" And instead of clicking yes or no, you have a thumbs up or a stop, which is no.
Right.
And throw it into the pit and confirm your answer, yes or no.
Okay.
I really
instead of
wanted
adding
like
it
a
to
no.
the UI, also in this case, you pick more like a gestures in order to confirm or deny a certain action.
Yeah, I wanted it to be as immersive as possible, little to no UI, just more immersions. Yeah. So we'll go to stage 17, and we are in the dome. It's frozen.
Right.
There's no water.
Oh, right. Yeah. What are the computers?
I didn't have computers at this point. I think
Okay, I'm kidding.
they came eventually. Yeah. But yeah, we have a frozen dome.
Right.
And this character is called Pi because it's a circle. So pi symbol. When you arrive, the pi symbol is actually skating around. So it starts here.
Right.
And it skates around you, and it's a surround sound. So you have a skating sound around you. So it makes the player like look around them when they're here. They're like, oh, it's here and here. So it makes you want to look around.
Right.
And then the character jumps and then jumps on the table, spins around again. So it's a lot of spinning. So it encourages the player to look around. And then it says bonjour. I don't know why. I just thought it was a French pie character. I don't know. Maybe. um, and then we have stage 18. And then the other characters appear. Oh, there's a computer.
Oh, here they are.
I,
I see them.
yeah, I thought an IBM tape computer looked more cool than a laptop. I don't know why, but yeah, I had this just to prototype.
Yes.
Also, I want to point out, like, look at the map now. Now we have, oh, where can I get a dome? Let me get a dome quickly. Oh, you got it.
Go ahead. Put yours.
Wait. Oh, what move now? Okay. It's a bit too small. Cool. So now, let me get this one. Cool. So now notice how it changed. The pyramid is now our north side, and that, yeah. So we have this character here, and they're telling us that all the computers are frozen. And it indicates, right, you need to pick up the axe and start breaking ice. And I made it a little bit too obvious for the player because I needed it to be an easy game. So you have like these objects that you need to take out of the ice. Some rock here with seeds, a ring that you can use to create an opening into the ceiling, just like we did at the tutorial. And then to our left side there, we have the Shadoof I was talking about earlier. And we have this character talking, telling us that there's no water to get the Shadoof, get the water out of the river.
Right.
Because it's all frozen. And that gives me like, right, I need to do something to get the ice to melt. So then we go to 19.
There's a lot of movement in here.
So in 19, we're at the pyramid space.
Right.
And the pyramid is the powerhouse. So the dome provides water. The powerhouse provides power. And the symbol that I used for this was infinity, because like infinity. And when you arrive, it's very quiet, it's very silent, and then dramatically this infinity symbol starts going around in an infinity shape.
All right. Yeah, I see that.
I just hit my mic, sorry.
No problem. So yeah, I see here the swirling, let's say.
Yeah.
Right.
So I had to plan that out. And it was really important to actually use those lines when I was animating, because it was very tricky to know where to like put the dots in space. And they also had to look like really nicely from the player's perspective here.
Yes.
When they're at the table.
Right.
So I did a variation, like they were quite low here and then quite high up here. So there was all these like little decision-making processes on like where exactly.
When I'm here and I'm a scale, I understand what is happening and you can make a judgment, but it's not the same if you're drawing this on a 2D plane where you're moving like a flying infinite symbol in space. That's a different thing, let's say.
Yeah, there was a lot of angles, and yeah, so it was a lot easier to do this in VR from the player's perspective and then back again. And then in 20,
right,
we have the character talking to us for a little bit. Welcome to the pyramid. My name is Eternity. And then 21.
Right.
So we have the solar. Oh, I forgot what it was called. It tells the time.
Right. Can anybody help us? What's the name of this thing?
Up. I should know this.
Sun something.
Okay, someone tell us in the comments, but it tells the time, and you have the
Sundial. Thank you
sundial.
very
Thank you.
much. Thank you.
So, so the sundial tells you the time,
Right.
but in this world, in Meta-Ankh, you can control the sun,
Right.
if that makes any sense. So if you click on, well, in my game at least, if you click on the dials, like the hours, the sun will start moving around.
Right.
So this, yeah, you control where the sun's position is. And the
Right.
goal is to get the sun over here so that the light falls down. I should draw. Let me get my brush. So the goal is to get the sun here, and that way it shines a light to the.
Right. So there's a shadow that does like this, basically.
Yeah.
Right. Understood. So, Aboodi, I think that we have got a lot of these covered, and it's great. I wanted to maybe go back to see also to some of the questions that people ask before we
Yes,
move.
absolutely.
What do you think?
Yes, absolutely.
Awesome. Let's go. Let me stop sharing this. And so we got a lot of people that got it. Sundial, yes, there were many. So we were really like the one that were late, Aboodi. But so one thing. So there are some important questions, right? And for example, from Matt is asking, what is the workflow for having this as a product that can be shipped? So after you have created a prototype, what happens?
What is the workflow to get this shipped? So shipped, I've actually not done that yet. I'm actually currently working on 2 apps that I'm trying to get shipped. The first would be to get it on SideQuest.
Yeah, but I think what he means, and I hope to interpret it correctly, is something that is playable, because that is a mock-up, right? That has a lot of design and decisions, but still is not something playable, right?
Okay. So to get it shipped, I took it from Shapes into Unity. So there was a plugin that allowed me to take everything that I've made in Shapes into Unity, and that way I have spatially where things are. And all the work was done inside of Unity. To get it shipped, it's a lot of trial and error, getting it to work, make sure it's optimized for the headset, because you can't have all these like beautiful graphics that we're used to on PC. Unfortunately, not yet, at least on the headset. And you get a file, an APK file, and that runs on the headset without the PC.
Right. And maybe what I want to show, since we are here, I can indeed show that step. You can actually insert the space code and then use this plugin to actually get everything that you have seen, that you have created in Unity. So in this case, wait, it's just loading a sec. And maybe there is also a follow-up questions that's asked how long, where was it? A lot of questions. And I'm sorry if I cannot cover everybody's questions. Where was it? It's like the question was how long did it take? Sorry, I lost it. But to prototype Daily Shapes, how long did it take?
The prototyping, a month maybe, because I was doing research as well.
Right.
A month maybe, but the whole thing 4 months, like from prototyping to getting it like a working product.
Right.
4 months.
And the shapes part, because by the way, what you are seeing right now is actually exactly what we were in, right? So here you see all the stages, so all the progression, let's say step by step. You see all the characters, all the things that were in there that are basically ported one-on-one in Shapes, and indeed all the interaction, the trajectories, and so on. It's all basically like in here. You see the movement and and even everything that we have created in the last stage, like the sun. Let me see if there is that sun. Here we
Oh,
go.
there it is. Yeah.
This is just the sun that Aboodi added while we were having our conversation. So I think this show we use as an example how actually possible it is to get what you have created in Shapes and bring it into Unity.
Yeah.
So I see a lot of congratulations. We got, for example, also people congratulate you, also portfolio piece.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
So that is great. So while we starting to wrap this up, maybe I have a couple of questions. So Aboodi, what's next for you now? I mean, what are you looking after?
Well, I graduated last week from Edinburgh University with a distinction in
Congratulations. That's also important. Absolutely. Must be a lot of work as well.
So I just graduated. I'm finishing the XR boot camp, which is really exciting. Next week as well, graduating from that. Honestly, I'm currently like open to work on the next like big thing with game developers, UK, Europe. It doesn't matter where. But yeah, I'm open to like joining an exciting team, big or small. I'm happy to work with anyone. So
nice. So I do have. There is a please talk about the unit metrics. If you design this stuff, how do you do it the right size? So let's do this because I think it's best if I show it in 1 second, Lucas. Because so let me show it. So Lucas, I'm gonna do this just for you. We are over time. I never go over time, but for you, I'm gonna try to give you this answer. I hope that is clear. Let me just start streaming again. Give me a second. Cast, computer, next. Because I think the scale is so important, we cannot neglect it, and it's a very important question. So yes, so people are Lucas questions. They're also signing. So here we are. I'm doing it. Don't worry. We are live. Okay. So now you see. So the best way to start things in the right scale is the following. You get here your asset, you get a character, and the first thing you do is that you grab the character that is here in your library. Now it is transparent because I am like this. So you grab it and you put it in space. Now this is your right scale. This is your reference. Every time that I teleport in the scene, so you see that he put different viewpoints in the scene, but if I teleport on a surface, I am always teleported to one-on-one scale. So it means that this is how the actual experience would feel like in scale. Now, another important thing, you can always toggle the word grid. The word grid is what basically allows you to draw within a grid. And once you do, you see like sizes in here. This allows you to say, hey, I want a cube that is 50 centimeters by 50 centimeters, or maybe 1 meter by 1 meter. And what you can do is that while you're working here, you can always change the scale of that grid. So for example, if you want to fix it at 20 centimeters, you can always say, okay, now this is a cube 20 by 20. So you have information regarding sizes, and then every time you can always teleport and experience the space in one-on-one scale. So Aboodi, am I missing something regarding this?
Nope, that's absolutely correct.
Okay. So I hope this guys helps you out. And indeed, I encourage everybody, I want to show it again, go here and check out the tutorials from our instructor, Jeremy. And if you are interested, book one of the onboarding from our website. You can just go ShapesXR.com. And in there are a bunch of always people that are excited to learn together about XR. And our instructor, Jeremy, does an amazing job of explaining and guiding you through the tool. So, and by the way, Sap is asking also, how do you align stuff? Again, I totally guarantee you, if you do 15 minutes of the tutorial series, you're going to get all the answer. You can play it out during while you're learning. So that is really the best way, because right now you might even forget. So I hope this was helpful. So let me just remove this and get back to Aboodi. Thank you very much, Aboodi, for staying with us.
Thanks for having me. Thank you. It's a pleasure.
Absolutely. Yeah. So if you guys, design is about, and XR is also a lot about storytelling. And honestly, I mean, I have to say one thing. I never entered before in the space. I've seen some things here and there, but getting you to explain me out the imagination about the different characters and how they're, let's say, character and functions matched in the space and within the storyline and how they all fit together, that was actually very, very nice. It was actually very,
Thank
very
you.
nice, I have to say.
Thank you. I hope it made sense.
It does, it does. And I
Yeah.
think that indeed, so I'm 100%, let's put this up together and let's put it in the, as you've seen, we plan to have soon in the update the ability to feature some created space from our community on that billboard. So Aboodi, as soon as your space is ready to go, we're going to put it there so that anybody can actually put it up there. Indeed, so I encourage everybody that if you are creating your spaces and maybe you're looking to have your space under the eyes of other people, tens of thousands of people literally, I really encourage you to actually get in contact with me either on LinkedIn or by emails or whatever you want, and then say, hey Gabriel, I also have an amazing space. Amazing, let's show it, and then we can put it there. So thank you very much, Aboodi. Thank you so much for pioneering this, for your project, and indeed your enthusiasm. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Gabriel. Thank you. I really appreciate it.
So, guys, have a good time. I know that there were some more questions. I apologize I couldn't get all down to it, but also in order to get this slim, I would like to say goodbye to everybody and happy Christmas if we don't see each other before that. Bye-bye.
Bye.